Do you want to add a new project to your portfolio? If yes, welcome to this Power BI dashboard class. In this video, we're going to look at healthcare dataset, transforming the raw data into something that looks just like what you have on your screen right now. So the very first thing you have to do if you want to follow me step by step is to go to the description box and download all the resources we have actually used to actually achieve what you see on your screen. So do use the timestamp to jump from one section to another just to make sure you follow along step by step on what we have done right here. We have over 200 videos on this particular channel that teaches you on how to use either Power BI or Microsoft Excel just to create a very solid project for your portfolio and as well to help you in the workplace. So what we do on this particular channel is 100% practical. And if you're looking forward to learning every single thing we have actually done right here, so the very first thing you have to do is to get the data set downloaded and follow along every single step we have taken. So we don't just create, we follow requirements. So go ahead and download the resources, open the PDF and read through this. Let's create. Okay, I have a brand new PBIX right here. There is nothing in it. The very first thing for me to do right now is to get my data. Click on this particular get data from another source. Next, you click on text CSV, then you click on connect. So it brings you right here where you have all the data, all the tables right in. So I'm going to go with visit first, then I click on open. So this is just the preview. So you can load to Power BI straight up and you can actually transform the data or you can cancel. Let us go ahead and say transform data. All right, so I think we have almost 100% clean data. There is no issue with any of the columns, except if there are columns we should remove. Let us just check across. I think everything looks fine right now. So we're going to load other tables right in as well. So all you need to do, you don't have to go to Power BI right now. Just go over to new source, and from new source, you click on the file type right here. And I want to go with providers. Just click on OK. Now you have it. All right. I have brought all the tables right in here. As you can see, we have those information on the tables I just brought in. Okay, if you look at it right now, there is nothing to be clean. It's actually 100% clean. So we have loaded our data. The next thing is to take this to Power BI by clicking on close and apply. All right, it has been loaded. As you can see, we have all the tables right here. Let us go quickly over to this particular model view. If I click on it right now, so you will see that my relationship had been some kind of suggested and created for me, very 100% correct. So I don't have to be scared of anything. I really want Power BI to handle relationship for me because it's not complicated at all. So if you want to learn about modeling or relationship, watch my other videos. You will see how I actually did it. Okay. So if you had been watching my video, you would know that I'm a fan of creating a table that stores in my DAX calculation because I don't have to mix them up with this particular part right here. So we have different ways to get it done. You can do it through Power Query or through Power BI, writing DAX, or you can just make sure you just don't write a single DAX to get it done. So all you have to do is to click on this particular enter data. So with that right here, I'm going to type in DAX. So DAX calculation, just click on load. So this is what we call a disconnected table. It has no connection with other tables that you actually loaded into Power BI. So this is just 100% disconnected. It's just for we to store our measures. Next is for we to create a date table. But before we do that, we are going to do some settings before we decide to create our date table. Let me show you what a date table here looks like. So I just inserted a table now. So I will go to one of the table here, like this particular visit, and I'll bring in the date of visit into this particular table. So let us quickly make sure it is more visible. I'm going to put it at 20. So now what you can say is this: the date here is being grouped into year, quarter, month, and days. So this is not what we want. The very first settings you would like to do is to go over to File right here, and from File go to Options and Settings, and go to Options right here, then wait for it. So we are here. Let's go to the current file and go to Data Load, and we go ahead and deactivate this particular auto time and auto date and time. Then do the same thing to global, go to Data Load, and you come down right here, you deactivate this very one here, then you click on OK. So as you can see, it has released this for us, but this is not the purpose of we being here. We just want to tell Power BI that, you know what, we want to create our own date table. Can you actually stop imposing your own default date, on our data? So we have solved this one right now. The next step is for we to go over to Table, View, and now we'll create a new table. So this is where we actually customize our own date ourselves, because that is how we can, create some of the columns that would not be in the default one. So right here, I'm going to call this one dates table, then equals. So first of all, I'm going to start with calendar auto. So for my calendar auto, what calendar auto will do is to actually go into my data and find the minimum and the maximum date from any date columns that we actually have and pull it out for me like this. If I go ahead and hit my enter key right now, it will definitely create one single column for me. So I can decide to format this and keep half the time I have writing it by going to format right here. Click on this. I will choose to use the shorter format. Okay, so I always love to format my DAX very well so that it could be readable. So with the Shift key held down now, I will take this one down right here. Okay, the next thing now is that we want to add some couple of columns. There are so many ways to do it, but I will show you one of the best way I used to use. So with this particular function called add column right now, so the add column will actually embed the calendar auto inside itself. So I'm going to have it closed right here. So the next thing for me to add my first column, by putting a comma right here, if you look at it right now, pay attention to the intelligence. It says table. Our table is this particular calendar right here, and the name is the column we want to actually add. So I'm going to add what? I'm going to add the year. So with the year added, so to get the year right now, we use the year function. So if we use the year function, the year function has an intelligence as well that tells us what it needs to actually have something returned for us. Then we are looking forward to this particular date. To call this date with ease, you can just use this particular square bracket and you have this. Then use your tab key, then go ahead and close it. If I hit my enter key right now, I should have the year extracted for me. Okay, we need to add some other couple of, columns. So I'm going to add column like month. So in this one here, what I'm going to do is to actually use the format function to get that done. So put a comma here, format function. So in the format function, we still go ahead and use this particular square bracket. Now bring this here. How do we want to format it? We want the shorter form. We do this, we close. So if I put my comma right now, I can go into the next one, which means adding a month number. I'm going to tell you why I'm actually adding this particular month number in my date table. So just watch it. Month num for month number. So we'll put a comma right here. So this one, I'm going to use the month function right here, and I bring in my date, then I close. So next right now is for me to actually create for the weekday. So weekday, and I go ahead and put a comma right here. So for the weekday, I use format as well. With the format, I bring in the date into it and I close. I always put comma. Oh, weekday. Okay, sorry, it's not completed. So put a comma here inside it, DD for the shorter format. Then that is all. So if you want to actually add more columns, all you need to do is to actually put a comma right here to get that done. So we have an error right here, but don't worry, we will fix it. The error is as a result of this comma we have added. If I take it off right now, the error is gone. So let's go with the next one. So we have just added what? Added the weekday. So we need to sort our weekday as well. So we're going to use week number for week number. And if I put my comma right here, we use the weekday function. And the weekday function, we'll be looking for this particular date column. Don't forget that this particular date column we have right here has to do with the column that is here right now, the first column we actually produced. Okay, I think I'm going to stop it here. But before we do that, I want to actually analyze my data by either weekend or weekdays. So we need to actually add a column for that. But before we do that, let us look at what this would give us. If you look at it right now, we have gotten some couple of columns up right here. So we have the date, the year, the month number, the weekday, and the week number. Okay, let us go back to this particular view. So this time around, I would definitely bring this here. This is the date, that's the default one that came with our data. So I'm going to Ctrl+C, Ctrl+V to paste it down, and I'm going to drag this right here. So now we can go over to here and click on these parts here. So we choose to remove this one. Then we go with this. So you can say this one is different, but almost the same thing. This is just a format. So this one is coming from a table we created. This one is actually from our data, right? But what I'm going to show you now is not this. Instead is actually this very one here. So if you look at this now, my month starts from April, which is awkward, right? It starts from April. So it's not supposed to be. I'm going to Ctrl+C, Ctrl+V to paste it and move this right here. Then the next thing now is for me to bring my weekday right here as well. So if you look at it, my weekday starts from Friday. So how do we fix this? Very simple. Let's go back here now. And we go ahead and highlight the month we want to fix. So once the month is highlighted, we go over to sort by column here. So you must make sure you are under column tools and you click over here, then you click on month number that we created, which is this particular column. So if you have done that, you do the same thing to the weekday and you come over here, click on the weekday and you go to week number to sort it. So let's go back and check and see what we have done. So now from January down to December, and it starts on Sunday down to Saturday. So if you look at it now for this particular weekday, it depends on the country where you are. If you are in a country where your weekend is actually Thursday and Friday, you might have a slight different from what I have right now, but this is just the very format you should actually take to get it done. Okay, getting back right here. Right now, we have no quarter and we need to create a quarter. So with my comma right here, I can actually create a quarter. So quarter can actually be on a short format like this one right here. And for me to create my quarter, I can actually go ahead and use the quarter function, or I can use the format function to get it done. So head out the two. So if I use my format right here and I go with dates. So inside this date right now, I can put a comma here, and over here, I would actually do Q, and I will do Q inside here. Then go ahead and close, then hit the enter key. Let's see what the result would look like. So this is how it's going to come. So we're going to have quarter 1, 2, 3, and 4. There are different ways to get this done. I can use the quarter function to get it done as well, but this is one of the best way and simplest way to get it done. But the thing is this, we are not looking forward to actually getting something like this. Instead, what we are looking forward to getting is actually have Q or quarter as part of the numbers. So inside double quotes, I'll put Q and space under Q. So if I want to have a dash, I can put a dash right here and I'll close this. So right now we need to concatenate this. We use the ampersand right here. Can you see that right now? If I hit my enter key, let's see what we are going to have. So I now have quarter 1, 2, and down to 4. Okay. So we have one more to add. So the next one we're going to add right now is going to be our week type. So I call this one week type. So for the week type here, what is wrong? Okay, instead of comma, I'm using a full stop. For the week type here, what we want to do now is this. Before we go on, let me just decide to remove this from here. Then let me show you something you need to understand before we create it. So if you come over here right now, we actually have Sunday to be 7 and Saturday. So Sunday to be 1 and Saturday here to be 7. That is the number that is used to identify the weekday, right? So right now that we have known this, let's see what we're going to do. Over here, what I'm going to do is to add a comma and weekday. So inside the weekday, I would actually use the if function to actually determine if it is a weekend. Oh, sorry, I should use week type rather. So now to get this done now, I'm going to use the if function. And what the if function will be asking now is this. It's going to actually go into the column and say if weekday, like this. So the weekday will be determined by this. So inside here now, if I go ahead and close it, there will be some couple of numbers right here, which is the same number we find over here. So remember, we have 7 and 1. So if this is equal to 1, right, then I think we're going to use OR. So for the OR, we're going to use the to pipe. So weekday. So we put in here the date. We close it, is as well equal to 7. So what do we want? If that is true, we want to actually return weekend. Otherwise, return weekday. So we go ahead and have this closed. Let us try it and see what we have right now. Okay, so we have the result now. So I am going to find out what is my weekend. So here is the weekend. So you can see my weekend falls to Saturday, right? So Saturday and Sunday, that is my weekend. So if you now look at it right now, if I come over here, you can see it's actually 1 and 7. So let's go back to the function to understand what the function is about. So the function says week type, and if weekday, which is this particular one, because this one is going to produce numbers, right? So if the number has 1 or it has 7, so which means they are weekend, otherwise categorize every other number that does not fall between 1 and 7 as weekday. That is what we have just done. I'm going to tell you first then that this is exactly what you need to do to have your own date table created in this very simple way. Okay, the next thing right now is for we to actually mark this as a date table. So what we're going to do is to go over to table tools, then we click over mark as a date table right here, and we turn on this very one. Go over here, you choose this, and you go ahead and click on save. Right? So once you have just done that, this is not the last thing you should do. So let's actually unfilter this one we have actually filtered. So we clear all filters. So go over here now and connect it to the right table that needs to use it. So over here, we have our date table. I'm going to keep it at the top here. And just make it a bit smaller. So the next thing now is to come to the visit table. So remember, in all the tables that we actually have, all those particular tables right here, our fact table or transactional table is actually the visit table right here. So it has the many side of our table. So the remaining tables has to do with the one side to this particular visits table. So for that, we're going to create a connection between our date table to this particular visits table right here. So what we need to do now is that we're going to look for the admitted date and actually drag it and put it on top of, date of visit rather. So we're going to be using the date of visit and drag it over here. So you can see it has actually created many-to-one relationship for us. So here you have it. So you must make sure it's actually active, then go ahead and click on OK. So the relationship has been created. So what about this particular admitted date? If you want to actually create a relationship between this now, it would actually be inactive. So I've just dragged it and put it on top of this. So now this is not checked. You can't check it because if you try to check it, it will actually detect that you have a relationship. And it says there are ambiguous parts between visit and date table, wherever. So we don't have to do this now. We can just go ahead and click on save. So now you can see we have a dotted line that connects this particular table to this particular table right here. But the thing is this, does it mean we cannot use it? We can use it. So we have a function called user relationship. So we can actually use that user relationship to activate when we want to use it. So we use it to activate the relationship between this table and this table in the measure. Then it will actually flow the relationship for us. So this is all you need to know about the table. So I think we are good to go right now. So before we start doing some analysis or writing some DAX, we are actually right here on PowerPoint. So go ahead and launch your PowerPoint, very importantly. So I'm just going to go ahead and just take this off. And the next thing I'm going to do right now is to actually give it any default color I kind of like. So format it, go over here. Let's go ahead and use something like this. A dark color like this would be cool for us. So you can use something that is more darker than this one. So once done, just go ahead and actually export. Click over here and let's go with JPG. So I'm going to name this one BG1. So that is all. So just click on save and just adjust this one. So we are back here. So I will actually insert a new page. In this page here, I am going to go ahead and bring this in. So just push this to 0%. And we have a dark background to work with. It's optional. You can use any color you want, but I just want to start with this. I don't know if it makes sense to you though. Those are the couples of KPIs we need to show on our dashboard, like the billing amount, medication cost, treatment costs, total insurance, room charges, and as well out of pocket. After we are done creating all those KPIs, we need to actually create average for each of the measures right here so that we can know the average billing amount. So they are very simple, but let me show you what we have on the table before we proceed. So before we start writing it, let's go over to this particular table view. So in the table view, we are going to go to visits. So now we are here. If I actually scroll, you can see over here, we have treatment cost, medication cost, right? So if I scroll, we have insurance covered, and as well we have room charges on a daily basis, right? So the thing is this, we do not have billing amount. So how do we actually create that? So for the first time, let's start with something very, very important. So over here, we are going to actually start our creation using the DAX calculation table we have right here. Do you remember that disconnected table we created? That is it. So go ahead and create a new measure. So here is our total medication cost. So to zoom in and out, use your control, hold your control down, your plus and minus key would actually help you to actually zoom in and out, right? So for we to create the total medication right now, all we need to do is to use the sum function. So using the sum function, so we can actually summarize the medication cost just like this. So the question you might be having specifically if you are just starting out is that why do we use this particular function called the sum? So the sum function, what it does is actually going over to this particular table. So inside this table is going to locate where we have medication costs here and actually aggregate the values for us. That is what it does. Okay, let's go back here. Now we are going to insert a new measure. So as you can see on this one now, we are trying to look at the total treatment cost right here, and we are still using the sum function because we are dealing with a single column. Then here we actually did total insurance covered. So it's a single column. We just sum that column up. Don't worry, we're going to use all those measures together, but for now, we need to create them. So the next calculation right now is actually the total room charges. So for we to create that, we need to actually add a single column to our visit table. So let's go over to this particular table. And over here, we click on this. So we have this column called discharged date and admitted date. So there are some patients that we admitted. So we want to see how many days do they actually spend on admission. So it looks blank, but when I actually click over here now, you can see I have some couple of dates right here. So the question you might be having in mind right now is that what is this particular blanks all about? So those blanks are those particular patients that were not admitted. You get it now. So if any of them were not admitted, there will be no discharged. There will be no record for discharged. There will be no record for admitted date right here. Can you see it now? So the next thing we're going to do is for we to actually calculate the length of stay. To calculate the length of stay, all we have to do is to add a new column. So we just added a new column here. So over here, we're going to calculate the length of stay by saying this equals. So for the length of stay to be calculated, we're going to use a function called date diff. So date diff would find the difference between two dates. Knowing which date to reference first is actually a key. So date diff here. So what is it looking for? Look at intelligence. It says first date and second date and the interval. So it will return number of units. All right. So what date do we actually specify first? So remember, we have two dates. We have discharge date and we have admitted date, right? So we want to know when was this person admitted? So we use the admitted date. All right. So we want to take the admitted date from what? From the discharged date. Okay, when I put my comma right now, it's asking me, how do I want the interval? Is it in hours, minutes, months, quarters, seconds, week, or year? So it's going to be days, right? I'll use days here. I would love to just indent it and I'll come over here and have it closed. This is the normal way to actually have your DAX formatted for you. So now we have this. If I hit my enter key, we might end up seeing nothing sitting in this column. It looks like an error. Yeah. Okay, what is this all about? Let's just think about why the error here. Have we done anything wrong? I think no. If I click on this right now, this is the error. Can you spot it? I'm just going to give you a few seconds to spot what the error is. The error is found here and here. So this is as a result of not checking your columns when you are loading your data into Power BI. So the error now has to do with this particular part here. So it says text. So let's change it from this to date. So if you look at it right now, you have to click on years. That will actually convert this to a date for you. So it's giving us this. So it says we can't automatically convert the column to date type. So what do we do if this happens? So we have to visit Power Query. So we can have it done in Power Query 100%. And we click on Transform Data. So we are here on the visit table. So on the visit table here, this one here, as you can see, is on its right data type. So scrolling to this particular end and getting to where we have those two dates right in, you can see they are actually formatted as text. So click over here and quickly change it to date. So you can actually replace this one, or you can add a new step if that is what you want, right? Then do the same thing to this one as well, just date, and to replace on this one. So if you can see here, we have null. The question you might be having now is that, what can we do to null? I'll tell you that you shouldn't do anything to null. Null is equals to blank, which means there are no date recorded for discharged and there are no date recorded for admitted, right? So that was because those people that came into the hospital at this particular time were neither admitted nor discharged, right? Or whatever, I don't know. So they were not admitted. So they can be discharged, they can be admitted, wherever. There will be no date for any of this. Okay, if we are cool, so you can just verify other columns and make sure they are all right. Then you click on close and apply. So let us take our eye and put it right here and look at what is going to happen right now. So now it's giving us blank because we have solved the problem. Right now you will see some numbers. You can see blank. I'll take the blank off. If you want to see this, you can just take the blank off and verify what it is. But I'm going to leave it this way. So now, as you can see here, we do not have value for this blank because they are not actually admitted. So for the admitted ones, so we have 1 day, 2 down to 9 days. So people who stayed for 1 day in admission and people who stayed for maximum 9 days in admission. So with this now, we can now calculate their room charges. Do you get it now? Okay. If you want to see a physical calculation of this, all you have to do is to actually go over to table tools and actually add a new column. So this is not an ideal way to get it done, but just for we to prove exactly what we are going to retrieve when we use measure, let's do something like this. I'm going to leave it at column without giving it a name, and I will do the room, daily room charges. I'm going to multiply that by length of stay. So if I hit my enter key, we are still going to have blanks right here. Despite that, we have some values here because this one looks blank. I'm going to have something like this. Okay, if I keep scrolling down now, scroll down, now we are here. So look at this particular person here. This person spent 1 day. So it's 50 multiplied by 1, we still return back 50. So 50 multiplied by 5 gives us 250. And this is what it is. I told you there is no need for we to create this column. I'm just going to have it removed. So what we're going to do right now is to some kind of copy, Control C to copy this from here. And this will definitely give you the difference between a measure and a calculated column. So if I should take this to a measure right now, it wouldn't work at all. So I'm going to have it deleted. So let's get back here. Now over here, we can create a new measure. So what we have just created previously was this. So I'm going to name this one here my total room charges. So if you look at my total room charges now, nothing is working. If I go ahead and hit my enter key, it will give me error. And this is the same DAX I wrote when I was in calculated column that gave me the value we saw right there. But right now, look at what it is saying. So how do we solve this? So we have to introduce a particular function called iterator function, right? So to introduce that now, this is a column from visit table. Here is another column from the same table. So to introduce the iterator right now, we use the SumX function. So what is this SumX looking for? It's looking for a table, and the table name is actually visit. Like this, right? So once we put our comma right here, it's asking for expression, and the expression are those. And this whole issue has been solved. If I hit my enter key right now, there will be no any single error. It has been cleared for us 100%. So you might be thinking like, what the heck has he done? You don't understand. But let me show you. If I go ahead and actually push this into a card, it's going to give us the value that is peculiar to the total room charges. So let's click back right here right now, and I'm going to take off everything from here. So now we are left with just the measure name. So let's do with SumX. So for the SumX, if you pay attention to the intelligence right here, it says table. The table we want to actually run this calculation right on is this particular visit table. So what is this telling the SumX? So it's actually saying, you know what? SumX, go ahead into this particular table and start scanning and go row by row. And when you find this particular charges here, so you have to relate it by multiplying it with any corresponding row in another column called length of stay. Go ahead and multiply it and return the value you have for me. So that is how we arrived at 180,000 right here. Do you see it now? This is what you need to do to have this calculation done. It's very simple. Okay, let us add another measure. We need just one single calculation to do on the main measure. All right, we have this measure called out of pocket. So out of pocket is actually the money someone pays from his own wallet or from his own bank account. So why would we call it out of pocket? That was because those people that visited the hospital for any treatment has most of their bills covered by insurance. So we are taking what is being covered by insurance from what is being covered by us. So first of all, did we have total billing amount? So how much is bill label? So we don't have it. So I'm going to actually go ahead and Ctrl X to save this inside my clipboard right now. So first of all, we have to create something called total billing amount. So which is going to be equals. Okay, for the total billing amount right now, we're going to actually add up our medication costs. We add it up with our room charges right here. And finally, we add it up with our total treatment cost. So this is what is actually billable. What is going to be determine how much a particular patient would pay for his or her medication. You get it right now. So with this right here, you can decide to look at what you have as the value by just pushing it into a card, and it will give you something like this, right? So now we can actually calculate the out of pocket. Remember, we have our insurance right here, how much we're covered by insurance. So this is how much that was covered by insurance. Okay. Now, you add in your measure. So don't forget we saved this in our clipboard. So for this now, what we're going to do is very simple. So we're going to actually go ahead and take our insurance or our total billing amount here. So we subtract our insurance from it. How much that insurance covered, that of insurance covered. So once we hit the enter key, it will give us how much individual paid personally from their pocket aside what insurance has actually covered. Okay. So I'm going to tell you first time that those are the couple of KPIs you actually need to create. So now we need to create a card for this and actually show it on the card. That is what is important. So we can't really tell what is going on here until we show it on a card. So the next thing now is for you to actually format this. If you look at this particular total insurance covered right here, there is no format right on it. So you might want to decide to actually give it the format by going over here and choose your desired kind of formats. So I would go with this particular kind of number format. So you can go with dollar or any one of your choice. So I'm going with this because the data set seems to be from the UK. So let's do with this. So do that for every single measure you have actually created that has to do with values, not counts, right? Has to do with money. So we now have the measures for our KPIs. Let us bring our KPIs to life. So go over here and we have to locate the new card. Over here, we have the new card. So insert it, stretch it like this, right? So the first measure to go into the card would definitely be our total billing amount. Here we go. Then the next one should be the medication cost. So if you go over here, you have the medication. Let us go to treatment cost right here. Then we go for insurance. And the next one should be room charges. Then finally, we bring in total out of pocket. Okay, room charges. Yeah, okay, we have out of pocket here. Now we have room charges right in. So if you look at it now, it's only showing us just 3 of the KPIs and we would have to scroll down to get the rest. So if you count from this particular part, how many measures we have? We actually have 6 measures. So what we need to do right now is to make sure we show the whole 6 measures by going to this particular layout. Then we convert this 3 to 6. That will show up every single thing, which is beautiful. So what is next? I don't want to see total billing, total medication. I want to take off the total. So the only best way to get it done now is when you click on this particular colored value here, you have to scroll all the way down until you can make sure you select this particular under series, select total billing that you want to change. Then you scroll all the way down and over here you click on this particular label and you give it your own label. So this one is going to be billing amount. So that will change this to billing amount. Then we do the same thing to medication cost, right? So we go over here, we go to medical costs. So we scroll down until we find this particular part. We type what we want here. So that is it. So it changes this one to medication cost. So without using the total, because it will actually limit us with the kind of space we have. So if you look at it, we have done it. Everything that has total has been moved and it does not affect the original measures. So we still have the measures like this, which is better. Those are the measures we have actually used for KPIs. So we want to group them on a separate folder. To get that done, what we need to do is to come over here to model view. Then we actually open up these properties. So once we have the properties open, then come over here and select the measures you want to group. So if I actually hold my control key, I can actually do multi-select like this. Now I have selected them. Let's come over here. under display folder. So under the display folder, you're going to type the name you want to use. So let us type in. So I just typed in here basic measures. That is the name. So if I hit my enter key right now, it will become a folder inside DAX calculation for me. So going back here right now, you can now see what we have. I have actually added some couple of basic measures. So if I click on this very one, we're trying to actually create averages for every single KPIs we have right here. So on this one, we actually call it average insurance coverage. So we use the average function to average the column insurance coverage. And next is the length of stay. So taking the average length of stay right here. And over here, we're talking about the medical costs, right? So we are taking the average medical costs. And over here, we're taking the average patient satisfaction score. So you know that we have a column that has to do with patient satisfaction score. And over here, we have this very one, which is the average treatment cost. So you can actually go ahead and go through it to actually write them out one after the other. It's absolutely very simple. Okay, I'm going to add two average right here because those are actually a little bit different from this one here. So I would love to actually add it at your presence. So the next thing we're going to do right now is that we want to know numbers of patients that we have, the total patients. So how do we calculate our total patients? That is what is actually important. So to calculate the total patient right now, we need to actually add a new measure. So inside here, we actually call this total patients. So we are going to use distinct count over here. So this distinct count, we go into a visit table and count the numbers of patients ID that we have right here. So those are the total patients we actually have. So once we have done this, we close and we hit the enter key. Let's see what we're going to arrive at. So this is what it is. With this particular measure we have just created right now, I'm going to add another measure for we to calculate the average billing amount per visit. You understand? Average billing amount per visit. So to calculate the average billing amount per visit, we're actually going to name this measure. So what we need to do right now is to use the divide function. So the divide function will surely divide what? We'll divide the total billing amount, which we had calculated previously before now. So total billing amount, we divide that by what? By the total patients that we have. So this will definitely give us the average billing amount. This is not a percentage, but just average. So the way we have done this is what we're going to do to calculate the average out of pocket. So what we need to do is just to actually get this one copied, then make sure you create a new measure. So for my average out of pocket, I need to change this part. That is all. So we have actually gotten all the averages we need to get right here. And don't forget to actually make sure you group them together because they are actually part of, they are actually separate from the previous one. So all we need to do now is to go over here. Then we select all those one. So if I hold my shift key, I can actually multi-select. I'm going to exclude this one. Then over here, I'm just going to call this average measures. So if I want to make sure this one belongs to a particular part right now, I'm going to put this one into my basic measure. So just hold this. And once you put it on top of this one, you're going to see this particular dotted line, then you release. So that had been pushed into basic measure. So now we have two folders. So folder 1 and folder 2. So it makes this particular part here to be as clean as whatever you think of. So when you open your DAX calculation, you can step into any folder you want to actually use at all. We now need to make use of the averages that we have actually calculated. So click over this particular visual right here and you go over to this particular one. Let us have this one hidden. Then we click on this particular reference label. So once you click on it, you have to choose which measure you want to use. So let us start with total billing amount. Then click over here. Then we step into DAX. You can see how easy it is. We can just go to our average and we select this very one. So this is what we want right here. So quickly you change it to this particular medical. Then we click over here. We go into here and we push into it the total medication, or the average medication rather. So now we have it right here. They are not well formatted yet. I'm going to format it. So we have now added them up all here. So all we have to do right now is to click them one after the other. Let us start from average room charge. Then we go over here to give it the format we want. So this is the format we have to use, the UK one. So we have to be very much consistent. Now our KPI is ready 100%. All we have to do is just to make sure we adjust it and make it look just as beautiful as what it is. Next right now is for you to create and analyze the total billing amount measure we have actually created previously by state and by city. The question is this: are you going to use two charts for this? Let's find out. All right, we are here. So the very first thing I'm going to do is to bring in my city into a chart. Then we can go into our DAX calculation and onto the basic measure here. So we take the total billing amount. So this is what our Power BI suggested for us, but actually we are not going to go with this. So we have different choices to make. So if I open up here right now, so we scroll down to where we have charts, you can see the several charts that we actually have. So we have normal maps, we have the field map, and we have the Azure map, and then we have this particular one and this one right here as well, the shape map. So I would love to go to this very one and click on it, which is the Azure map right here. But the disadvantage of this Azure map is this: if you are not actually online, it will not work. And again, if you are not actually logged in to your Power BI service, it will not work. So over here, as you can see, I'm actually logged in to my Power BI service account. So for that, it will definitely work. In case you do not have a Power BI service account, so you would have to create one. And if you don't actually have a working email or a school email, it will be difficult for you. So I have a video that covers how to actually do that. I'm going to link that on this particular video so that you can actually create your own Power BI service account or without having a working email or whatever. Okay, now we have done this, but the thing is this: if I go ahead and actually bring in my state, look at what happens. It looks some kind of weird because it's going to turn one of the two dimensions rather, I put into a legend. So which is awkward. We don't want something like this. So how can we make sense with this to actually create the state and the city without creating double charts? This is what you do. So go over to modeling right here. Then you click over to this new parameter. Then you go to field parameter. So over here, you can leave it this way, but I would love to change it to. So I just typed in patient location switch. So this is the patient location. So inside this box, open up your city and click on the city and the state. So we have something like this. Go ahead and click on OK. As you can see, it has added a slicer right here for us. So the next thing we have to do right now is to make sure we click on the slicer, and this should change. So if I click on state, nothing happens. That was because I have not actually established connection between this and this. To do that, click on this very one here and go over this particular part right here and you click on it. So once you have done that, you come to where you have the city right in Then you click and now close this one up. Let us go into patient location switch. Then you click on this one. So as you can see, it has actually switched for us. If you look at here right now, what we actually have now is actually a state. So we have a state right here. That was because we selected state from this particular part. You get it? So now we have just achieved something like this. The next thing right now is to show the total billing amount by procedure with the percentage of grand total, which is two things. The first one is showing the total billing amount, and the second one is showing the percentage of grand total on a single chart. So how do you think this is possible? Very possible. Let's do it. Okay, we arrived here. So the very first thing I'm going to do is to bring in the procedure. So here is my procedure in the table. I'm going to click on this very one here. So it's going to create something like this for me. Then I am going to move in my total billing amount into it, right? So it's going to create a chart for me speedily. I don't want a chart yet. So sometime I would love to use a table to display what I want first, see the result before I convert it to a chart. So what I'm going to do right now, let's go over here, and I want to actually crank it up so that you can see it better. So let us put it at 20. Now we have it at 20. I can even display it on this mode. So the thing is this, right here, we have every single value for X-ray, CT, scan, down to blood test, right? So how do we create a percentage of procedure, right? Then let's do something like this by going into DAX calculation. Then we create a new measure. So with this new measure right here, I'm going to actually say all revenue. So I said all revenue. I'm going to say all billing amount for the time being, just for you to understand what is playing out after all. So I will do calculate. So the calculate is going to take the total billing amount, comma, and over here, we're going to use the all function. And this all function is going to do something. The all function is going to remove filter from procedure. And what do we need to do right there? So we bring in procedure, which is this very column here. And we go ahead and close this and hit the enter key. So guess what? If I push this in now, what do you think we're going to see? I just want to explain something to you. Let's push this in. So it's in. So right now we have the repetition of what? Of the grand total right here. That was why we call it percentage of grand total. So what the system is going to do right now, if we decide to convert this to a percentage, is very simple. So it's actually going to take this value right here and divide it by this particular value to create a percentage for us. So do the same thing to this very one. So this is a physical result we have just seen. I can actually do this without showing up the physical result. Now to have this done now, let's go over to our all billing amount here. So with the all billing amount here, now I'm going to do divide. So what am I doing? I'm dividing the total billing amount. So with a comma. So I'll come down here and have this closed. Then I hit my enter key. So I have just converted that particular repetition of my grand total into a percentage. Okay, but if we look at it right now, it's not displaying as a percentage right here. That was because we have not formatted it. Let's go over to percentage and click on the percentage number formatting. So now you have it. This is what you're looking forward to seeing. If you look at this now, this is the highest value. It takes 31%. Then this one takes 24, 18, 14, and 12, on and on. So this will give you 100%, but we don't have to concern ourselves much about this because this is without filter context. So it's going to return this for us. So we have actually gotten this created. So we cannot directly create our chart using the closed bar chart like this. So it will look some kind of weird. So what we're going to do right now, let me return it back to the table that we have. Then you should have a full understanding of what I'm trying to do. Let us remove this away from here. Now we create a clustered column chart. Okay, with this created, let's come over here and go to the x-axis and actually go ahead and turn off the title. And we'll do the same thing to the y-axis as well. All right, so with all of those being turned off, let us scroll all the way down. So we are here, we turn on the data label. So we scroll all the way down like this. So we go to the value area, we just turn it on. And the next thing is for we to scroll down, we actually change this from auto to none. Then it will display all the values for us. So once we have done this, the next thing now is for we to actually add the percentage right in here. So click on detail. Then open up this. Then click on this particular plus add data here. Then go to your DAX calculation and let us pick up this particular all billing amount right here. So I'm going to change it later after all. So we have it here. All billing amount is here. So why is it showing us this? So we are onto detail. Let's scroll down. So display unit, if I click on it right now, I'm going to say none. Now it's showing the percentage here. So the latest I'm not cool with is the measure name. So the measure name should not be all. So I use the all to explain that it will return all the grand total for us. So over here, I'm going to use the percentage of what? Procedure. So you will hit the enter key. It wouldn't change anything. So if you look at it right now, we have just created this. So we can now say, this is how much we have made. And as well, this is the percentage that's attributed to it. So we show a percentage and as well its value at the same time in one single chart. So how about this? So we can just go ahead and do something like this. And this is what it is that we have. So you can just rearrange something like this. So we want to show how much we have made from diagnosis and as well as service type. So we want to use a single chart to actually have this created, which is something very simple that anyone can create. Let's do it. Over here, we're going to use 100% stack bar chart. So to insert a chart, you can right click and here you have add visual. So with this done, let's go with this here. We'll click. Then we are going to locate where we have 100% stack bar chart. So this is exactly what we are looking forward to using. So you click on this one here and here you have it right in. So I'm going to actually give you a full screen to see what I'm going to do. So the next thing I'm going to do right now is to bring in my total billing amount right in here. So the question says you have to do this by diagnosis and as well as service type. So my service type would be on my legend. So let's do this. So now we have this. So if you can't find what you're looking for, the next thing you do is to actually search. So it's service. So here we have our service type. We push it in right here. So it creates something like this for us. So it's now our legend. But the legend here is now looking pretty nice. I want to push it to the bottom and I clean up my chart by just doing a simple thing. So over here, we want to go to our axis. So first of all, we touch this axis right here. We turn off this one. So next right now is actually the legend. So we're going to go to the legend right now and actually bring the legend to the bottom center. So this is exactly what we want to actually create. So for the color right now, we're not going to bother about it, but we need to actually add the data label, something like this. So do you know this is not actually a percentage? But because of the kind of chart we chose, it actually splitted it into a percentage for us. So we did not create percentage. So we just created normal visual. So it's going to actually run the percentage 100% for us. So this is exactly what we have. I can just go ahead and do something like this. So this is the chart you need right here. The final chart we're going to create is going to be by department, showing the total billing amount by department with percentage of grand total as well. But this one will be a different chart, and we have to use a different techniques to actually display this, not just like what we have done previously. Let's do it. Let us go ahead and select this particular clustered bar chart. So I'm going to drag it all the way down. So let us put it on a put it up on a focus mode like this for us. So we have something like this. All I need to do is just to make a search for my department. So let's go to our measure, DAX calculation. We bring up the total billing amount right in here. So this is what we have. But right now we want to actually switch this particular y-axis right here and put it on top of the bars. You get it right now. So how do we get that done? That is important. Okay, the next thing we're going to do right now is to actually create a measure. I call this a blank measure. So I'm going to do new measure. So I'll call this blank measure. So equals 0, just 0, show up 0. That was why I call it blank measure. So with the blank measure here, what we need to do now is to go over to, I think I can push it in. Yeah, we're going to push it in. So let's click over it and we bring in our blank measure. So our blank measure is here. It's not showing up at all. So what I'm going to do now is to go over to where? Let's go over to data label and turn it on. So with the data label right now, the blank measure shows up. But the thing is this, we don't actually like where it is positioned right now. So let us go ahead and change its position. So to change the position, all you have to do is to click over here and just move this to the top. So it has been changed. So the color will change, no problem. Don't bother about it. Okay, in case you have this sorting not to be on good order, so all you have to do is to actually change how it is being sorted, which we're going to do in a jiffy. Okay, next thing now is that we don't actually like the color. That is one. Is busy. That is two. So we want to change the as in we turn off the legend from here now to reduce how busy it is. So then we go over to the X axis and we turn off the value and as well the title away from it. So it has reduced it. So before we turn off this particular part right here, we want to go ahead and let's go back to this part here. Then we scroll down. You can now see we have series. We can choose what we want to see. We want to see blank measures. So the blank measure is here. So we have selected the blank measure. So we come to detail and we can put anything on the detail area here. For example, if I go to this part here, I can decide to push this in and we are going to have it right here. So just because this was not calculated for this purpose, it wouldn't actually reflect anything. Let us bring in something like go to basic measure, out of bucket. So you're going to see the value right here. But this is not what we want to put in here, right? So what we need right here is going to be this particular y-axis here. So what I'm going to do now is to actually further add a new measure in here. So go to new measure, department. So using the selected value function, so I'm going to call department. So we go ahead and close it. So make sure you are using the column. This one has square bracket is the column. So if you just call department that has just department, that is the table itself. So use the column. So we have just done this. So let's go back and change the detail from what we have now. to active department. So now we have something like this. So we just did turn off the value. Can you see it now? The value is on, we turn off the value, we are just using the detail. Okay, once we have done this, we can now go back and turn off the y-axis. The y-axis is gone. Can you see that? So before we do that, let us quickly scroll down a little bit and turn off the title. Now we turn off the value. So we now use this value right here. So what is left right now is that we actually need to add what? We need to add percentage of the grand total, just like what we have done previously on the other one, which is very simple. It's very simple. All we need to do is just to click over here and make a change of this procedure to what we want. We just need to match it and we create a new measure here. So we have all understood how this measure was created. So recycling through it right now wouldn't be difficult for you to understand. So I paste it right here. Let's go over and turn this to department. And over here is good, over here is good. The only thing we're going to change here is going to be department. So this is what it is. So I hit my enter key. I have just created that, right? So if I come here, I want to make sure I format it into a percentage. So I don't want 2 decimal places. All right. So once we are done, we can step out from here and now we are here. So remember, let's do this. So that will disappear. So remember, we turn off this value here. So no, sorry. Let's go down. So we turn off this value here. So now what we're going to do, if I should bring this into here, so my percentage will be at the back, right? So what I will do now is just to make sure I go over and I bring my active department here and I swap the detail for my percentage. So here is my detail. I'll remove this active here. We now have one. I'll bring in here, go to DAX measure and let us bring in the percentage. So now it's not showing up past, it's not showing up as a percentage, it's showing up 0.00m. So which is crazy. All we have to do is to find a way to actually have that formatted, which we had done previously before now. So we have display units. So let's go to none. That would definitely show this like this. So remember, you can actually decide to make sure this looks bolder than the others. You can choose to use something like this, so it would stand out from the rest. Okay, if you look at one thing we have to touch is the main value right here. So we need to go all the way up. And here we have the position. That is not what we want. We scroll down to the value area. So from auto, we're going to change it to none. So what did we do? Oh, sorry. We have to do something like this. Go over to here. So now we are actually on blank measure. We switch it to total billing amount. That is when we can actually use that feature I've just used previously. Then we can now click over here and we scroll all the way down. Then we change the display unit to none. Then we have it reflect like this. So if I go this way, so you can now see what I have. So the next thing we're going to fix right now is the ranking, right? So the bars are some kind of weird. So what I'm going to do is to click over here and go to sort. And I'm going to sort by billing amount here. This is cool. This is exactly what we want to see. Okay, we have completed all the charts we need to actually create to display everything we need to display. The next thing right now is for you to actually create a nice background for our work. But before we do that, all we have to do is to actually hold your Ctrl key, select this, and as well this very one right here. Then we should go over to size and style. Then what we need to do is to turn off their background. that would give you something like this. So not bad. So what I'm going to do now is just not to worry about the color or whatever I have right away. So all I need to do now is just to make sure I click on this very one here, then go over to this particular kind of slicer, which is the newer version of slicer. So click over it. We can do it from here. So let's go here. The new version of slicer should be this very one. So once we have selected this now, I will go over here to actually do the formatting. First of all, turn off the background from it. Let's come over here. The title should be turned off. Then the layout should be on a column instead of rows. Okay, so yeah, I think we use column or rows. Okay, let us go with rows. So we just put it at 2, not 4. So put it at 2. Now something like this would work fine. So I will just stretch it right here. So it wouldn't look nice for the time being, but don't worry. So with time, you will see what it is that we have done. Let us just move this up a little bit like this. So their titles should be some kind of colored for now. So later, after all, we can change it. Let me just do this title. So we have this. We're going to make it beautiful in a jiffy. Watch me. So what we're going to do now is just to go to PowerPoint and get it done. Before we get to PowerPoint, hold your Windows key, Shift and S to take a screenshot. In case you can't do this or you don't actually have this option in the kind of window you are using, which every Windows would have. And that alternative is just for you to go ahead and take a snippet tool. Just search for snippet tool like this. Click on it. So you can actually use this for a screenshot. It's actually a default app in Windows, so you don't have to go and get external software downloaded. So you take this and here you go. But because we don't want to save this anywhere, I'm not going to use this particular type of screenshot. So what I'm going to do now is just to hold my Windows icon, Shift key down, then click on the S. You have this option. You can just take it like this. So once you release, so it has been saved to your clipboard, so we can use it anywhere. Okay, now we have this. The first thing I'm going to do is to have this one removed. Once I have gotten it removed, I'm going to right click and format my background by going to format background. So here I have something like this. So if you watch this particular place closely, so we have gradient fill. I'm going to select the gradient fill right here. So with my gradient fill over here, this very one, what I'm going to do to it is to change the color. So go to more colors. So for the purpose of those of you that does not have this version I have that has the hex code, let us use the RGB. So I'm going to use 230. So we're going to do that with 114, which is the green. Then this one should actually give us 242. Then this is the color we want to use. So I'm going to click on OK. So you can see the color is actually up here. So we can actually change how this color is being shown, or the degree we are looking at this right on is something very important. So let us put this at 70 degree. 70 degree looks fine. So you can see it reflects right here. So if you want to actually add a stop now, I can move this particular stop right here. And this stop, if you want to get the exact angle I'm using, is actually going to be somewhere around here. Somewhere around here is fine. So now let us have its color changed as well. So follow the same color I used, then you have the same result. So we go to more. So over here, our red should be 181. Then we're going to use 210. And lastly, we're going to use 236. So we just go ahead and click on OK. So you can see it's changing gradually. Okay. I can just move this a bit closer. So the angle should be same thing. So clicking on this one now, I can move this just closer to this one, but not that much. So I have to make sure I change its color as well, which is very, very important. So follow the same color I'm using, then you're going to arrive at the same thing. I think this color should be nothing but the same thing I have right here. So if you're using the same this thing, so for you to avoid typing this over and over again, you can copy hex code. Otherwise, you would have to type the same thing. I'm copying the hex code now, and I'll come over here. I will click over here, more, or still, I already have the color. So you can click over here, you have the color here. So you just select the color. So now you can see it's a bit brighter. Now, the next one should be the last one right here. So for the last one, we're going to actually change the color code as well to match what it is that we're looking forward to seeing. So let's do this. More colors. So over here, we go to this particular red, and we change red to 195. So we change the green to 155, and we change the blue to 225. Something like this, then you click on OK. So this is exactly what we have done, right? So once you are done with this, this is just you formatting your background, right? So the next thing now is for you to go over to here, insert, and you come up with this very rounded corner. So you drop it down. So now we want to define the height and the width so that we can be on the same page. So with this right here, right now, go to format, and over here, we want to take our height to be 6.65. 6.65. Now, the weight right now should be 12.88. So once we are done with this, we can bring it right here. And now we can now control how this is. So I'm going to bring it down. So control the rounded corner. So we have something like this. Can you see it now? Okay. The color should be changed as well. We are not going to leave it at this very color we have right now. So before we change the color, let us go over to line and take off this one. Now click on this particular part. So the color we're going to use now should be this very color here. So this gives us something like this. Can you see it now? This is what we want. So you can click on this and go over to shape formats. And go to align. We want to align in the middle. Oh, sorry, center rather. So we want to align center. So it will centralize it for you. The same space you have here is what we want to have here, but we want to have more space at the top right here. All right, so once done, that is okay. The next thing we're going to do right now is to actually create a card. So we go over to insert. So before we do that, we have to paste in. So Ctrl-V to paste it in here. So with this here now, we can now start creating how we want our chart to go. So first of all, I want to go over to insert, and over here, I'm going to take up this very one. So reduce the edge. So you can Ctrl-D to duplicate. So Ctrl-D again to duplicate. So I'm going to bring this down. So finally, we duplicate again. We take it up. and we have it right here. So once we are done with this, that is beautiful. So the next thing I'm going to do now is to go over to Insert and go over to Shape. I'm going to look for this kind of shape here and just drop it down. So I will just make sure I do something like this. So this shape will be coming here. I'll keep it over here. I'm going to bring this one to front. So I'll just adjust this one a bit to go into it. So I'm going to click on this one I brought in and have it deleted. So we have something like this. So we have to control now the edge. So over here, I'm going to just push this one in a little bit so that I can have a white space here. Then we can do the same thing to this very one here. Click on this one to do the same thing. We can arrange this when we get to Power BI Desktop. Just do something like this. And you do this. Then you click on this one. Then you push it in a little bit, just like this. So once done now, this is perfect. So we have to click on this one and click over here, select this color. Can you see it now? So it has some kind of outline. We take off the outline. So you want to take a darker version of it, click on more, and you just bring it down a little bit to take a different version, which is this very one. It's more darker. So now you can now see something like this. So to actually make it to look more standout, you click over this particular part and you go to shadow. So you click on this one. You click on the shadow that is going up like this. So you reduce the transparency. So you can just reduce the transparency, not to be too much, right? Something like this will look perfect. Okay, on this very one, hold your Control key and select everything. Once you've done that, let's go over to here and select a white color like this. Then we take off the outline from it. So it creates something like this for us. So I think this looks too much bright. So I'm going to select this, hold my Control key to reselect every single thing I have actually changed its color. Then I go over here. Let me just use this one with just 10% darker. So now it looks very calm now. So we have this from PowerPoint. We can actually take this to Power BI to be used. So let's go over to File, go to this particular export and click over here. Then we want to click over this particular PNG or JPEG. Depends on the one we want. Let us go with JPEG. So let's click on So this one here, we created it when we started this particular class. I can replace it on this very one. All right, we're back to Power BI Desktop. Let us go to Canvas background and remove the previous one. Then we replace it with this very one. So it looks better. What we just need to do is just a little touch and we have our dashboard, just like what we are actually expecting. So you can see this is very simple. It's something you can do. I just actually did this without your notice, but I'm going to show you the color I have used. Over here, if I click on this, say just need to go to where I have the column right in. I'm going to scroll all the way down, then clicking over here with more. So you have the red, we have the green, we have the blue, and you have the hex code number right here, which you can actually input and have the same color. So the same thing is what is happening here. We use a different variation. So if I click on emergency, so we're using the same color. If I click on this particular inpatient right here, clicking over here, then it gives us this very color code. Then over to the next one, which is just the outpatient, which is this one. Then let's go we have this particular color code for it. Okay, right now we can do this together by coming over here right now. The next thing we have to take care of is this very one right here. So what I'm going to do now is just to make sure I go over to the emergency and I click over it. I go to more colors, I copy the color code to my clipboard. So once that is done, I'm just going to come over to this particular one here and change the color of my selected one. So what I'm going to do now is just to click over to my button. So I'm going to scroll down. Then I have the default one here. For the default one, I would want to use no border. And for the fill color, click over here and let's go with this kind of color for the default one. Then the selected version should just going to be selected. And you click over here is right here. So you choose to use this one for the selected one. So once something is selected, you might want to crank up the text a little bit. So we just go over to selected and we just increase the font a little bit. So can you see? So what happens if I make a switch to this very one here? Can you see what it is that we have right now? This is better. So nicely done. The next thing is for me to click on this very one and make sure the color I'm going to choose for this will definitely match this very one here. First of all, let's go to title, then click over here and let us select this particular color. So now we have this right here. So the next thing I'm going to do right now is to go over to my, not bubble. Let's go over to map settings right here. And this is what we have, road. So you can choose different one here, depends on what you want. So choose what actually matches the color you are using. So different version of it right here. Just play around with it and you will see which one definitely match what you want to use, right? So you can use this dark one, but let us go to a lighter version of it. So let's do this. So this one will definitely go along with this. But if I have chose this particular color, so I'm gonna do the bubble. So for the bubble now, we can just decide to minimum, maximum, the range. Now let's go with the color of the bubble. We change the color of the bubble. So let's go with this. So the color of the bubble now matches. What if we want the color of the bubble to be varies, like highest to the lowest? So we go over here now. So we click on this and we choose the same thing like this to be the highest. Then we come over here and slightly choose something like this color for the lowest and we click on OK. So now it's reflected. So this is beautiful. We have something like this. So it's now making our chart to look much more better, right? So the next thing we have not added is actually adding the title of the dashboard, healthcare provider dashboard, very important. So now we have it. So we want to actually have the ability to actually switch between the dark mode and as well the light mode, just like what you have seen in the introductory part of the video. So how do we actually create something like that? It's very simple. All we have to do is to actually create a darker version of our background. Then we just do this. Over here, I'm going to just right click and duplicate this. So we have a second version of this, right? So the same thing will just happen here. So we are here. The next thing we have to do is to right click and we go ahead and duplicate this just like what we have done in Power BI. So we're going to use this as our dark version. So we click on the background, not on the card or on the second background. Click on this very one. Over here, we're going to change this one. Go to here and click on more colors. Then we're actually going to use just 38 all through. So 38, 38 and 38 as well. So we click on OK. That is the first part we actually need to change. Just follow me to change everything I'm going to change right here. We don't just use straight black. We just have to be some kind of, go over here. So here I'm going to use that in all through. So now just go ahead and click on OK. As you can see, it's actually changing its shape, its color rather. So now have that done as well. Let's go over to the next one. I think we're going to still use the same pattern here. Let's just copy this very one and click over here. So over on this one now, we're going to use the first one, which is 38, this very one here. So it gives us slight changes, just like what you are seeing on the screen right now. So this is the first thing you actually need to do. So after you might have done that, the next thing you have to do right now is to change this particular color right here, this very one. So go over here and select this. And what we're going to use is this particular color. Can you see which one I've selected right now? This very one here. So let's go back and click on it. Now we have something like this. So we're going to leave this color the way it is. We're not going to touch it. So it's time for we to find a color that will match the cards we are using for us. So I'm going to hold my control key to select every single cards I have right here. Then I go over here, then click on, let's choose this one. So our dark version is actually ready, right? So all I need to do now is to actually find something that will show the brighter version and the dark version. Can you see now? We have something like this. All right, come over to this website called flaticon.com. So you can see it right here, flaticon.com, and type in half moon. This half moon, so you just select from the lots you have right here. So you select this version and select this version as well. That is what you're going to use to create your icon for switching between the bright version and the dark version, which I've already, downloaded. Just click over here and you click over the PNG, then you just download. That is all you just need to do. So here we go. Make sure this position is what you're maintaining right here so that when you switch, it shouldn't look awkward. So maintain the same position just like this. So we're going to control the rest when we get to Power BI. So now we have the light version and the dark version as well. So we're going to actually go to File, Export. We click over here. Then we go to JPEG. So we replace this one here. Okay, this is for the dark version. So let's click on this. So the dark version is not looking anyway great. That was because we actually need to some kind of update the color we have for our charts. So that is very simple. All you just have to do is just a little touch and everything will definitely be okay. All right, as you can see, I have actually updated this, but the color is not yet updated. I just changed the axis and everything is looking good right now. So on the map right here, we just have to choose map settings and we use the dark version, which is this very one. And that will definitely match our background. So can you see right now? This looks beautiful. Okay, the next thing I'm going to do right now is to actually click on this very one here, then go over to here and change the desired color I want to use. So let's go with this one. It looks more brighter and that is going to be cool. But I just want to make sure I just go over here and choose a different variation that look more brighter, that matches what is right here. So this is what I'm going to use now. So if I click over here, I can just go ahead and switch to this. And from here, click on this one, then select this one. That is beautiful. Okay. Now, so now over here, we just have to match the same thing. So we go to this button here. For the selected, we want to change its color, which is the fill color for the selected. It's going to be this same thing right here. So now it's good. So we have one more thing to do, which we have not done to even the other one. So we're going to click on this very one here. I'm going to show you just one of it. Then you can do it all by yourself. So over here, you want to choose this total billing. So you go over to the accent bar and you click on this. And here you go. You have something like this. So in case yours is different, look at what the setting I have. I have it at 50% and at 12 pixel. So if I click over here, you can see the color I'm using right here. So that is exactly what you need to do. So you just go over and click on different measure, like this measure right here. Then you come down and have this turned on. So you're going to have it. So all that will just be cool on your visual. I'll do it this way. So bring it up to this level here. So once you have it here, let's go over to the button style. So now we are at default. So at default is cool. But we want to go over here and make sure we change it to something that has to do with rounded corner. So you can see what we have right now. It looks more like a button, right? So if we click back on it again now, we can actually scroll all the way down and see where it says text. So we can actually go ahead and add a text right in here. So we can now go to light mode. So with this right here right now, this is cool. We want to crank it up a little bit to make sure, or maybe we can change the font type to something like this that look more there. And let's go with this very version here. So we just put it at 11. This is great. So we want to go to this particular part and say on hover, we want to actually go to 13. So when we hover over it, this is the effect we have, right? So return it back to default. So once you have it returned back to default, now let's go down and you're going to find here where we have fill. So for the border, I'm going to turn the border off. Then for the fill, I bring the fill, open it up and scroll the way down a little bit. Then you actually return this to 0%. So you're going to have something as bright as this. We don't want that. Let's go over to the color and change the color. Let's do this. No. This is going to be crazy. Let's go with something like this. Okay, I think this looks perfectly okay right now. So you can change the transparency if that is what you want to be a bit darker like this. So when you hover over it, we want to see this to be much more dark, which is the text on it. So let's go all the way here and we select the hover mode. Then we scroll all the way down. We select the dark version here. So can you see it now? Can you see it now? So go to light mode. So when I hover, I have something like this. So the next thing I'm going to do is just to copy this one away from here and bring it up to this particular part. So go ahead and Control V. So remember, we have to change this. Let's go ahead and get the new version. So now we have this. All I have to do now is to actually match it with the right color. That will definitely make a lot of sense. So I think this is even okay. So now click on this one here. Let's go over to action. Click over action. Then here we click. Then we click on this page navigation. Then we select the page we want to go into. So we want to go into a different page. So let's select this one here, go to the dark version. So what happens if I'm using Power BI Desktop? I have to hold my Control key to click on this one. That will bounce me to the dark version here. So select this one as well. And right now you click on this, you click over here, you go to page navigation. Then the same thing you have done previously is what you're going to do. Now you select just the detail, which is the bright version here. And if I just click on this, it's going to bounce me to this particular page. This is how you actually need to have this created. So what about this? This is very beautiful, right? So this is exactly what you need to do. So the next thing is for you to actually add a slicer, which is very important. So we're going to add that in a jiffy. Let us add some couple of slices. So what I'm going to do right now is to actually add the patient arrays. So over here, you have this right here. So if I bring it in, it's going to be a table like this. So I actually need to convert this to a slicer. So the slicer you would love to use would be the new slicer, which is this very one right here. So once we have gotten this in here, we can just keep it just like this for the time being right here. Okay. So we need to use the old slicer for this very one because the new slicer wouldn't help us for the next one. So we are going to the date table. So in the date table, we want to actually get the year. So we have gotten the year. So what I'm going to do now is to go over here and select the old version of slicer we have in Power BI, clicking on it. Okay, let's quickly add the quarter. So we have the quarter right here. So immediately we add the quarter in, we are going to have something like this where you can actually click on the drop down and you see the 4th quarter in this year. So we want to add the month. So we come over here, we add the month. So now we have our month. So if we have any blank, that blank would actually distort our analysis. So it means there is nothing for this. So all we have to do right now, we just need to come over to filter right here. So open up this filter and go to the quarter and check if the quarter is the one carrying the blank. So check everything and uncheck the blank. So the blank will be disappeared from here. So quickly go ahead and turn this off. Okay, we have gotten the two slicers we want to actually add, but the thing is this, there is no space for we to actually add our slicer. So we can make this very unique. How do we make it very unique? Very simple. So I'm going to build a hide and show slicer in Power BI. So default one I used to build is just to actually go to insert. And from here, I click on this particular add shape and I get a shape from here to be used. So let me show you how to actually get something more beautiful using PowerPoint. We're right here on PowerPoint. We can build it here. There is no problem. So all I have to do now is to actually go over to insert. So from insert, I'm going to click on this, then click over this one that has rounded corner rectangle. So just drag it down as small or as big as you want. I'm just going to have something like this. Then I maintain the rounded corner. Something like this will be okay for me. So quickly right click and go to format shape. Then we go to line and take off the line. Now go to the fill. Then we want to make sure we have this as our fill. So this is going to be our fill. So right now we have this, Ctrl D to duplicate it. And I'm going to actually have to just do something like this. Then come over here and select this very color here. So take it and cover it up to this level. Then maintain the rounded corner a little bit. So once done, you just double it and you bring this right here. This is how you can actually get something like this designed inside PowerPoint. So with this done, if you are very much satiated with what you have, all you have to do right now is to hold your Control key to select all of them together, right click and click on group, then you have it grouped. So now you can move it anywhere you like. So with this done, all I have to do is to right click again and you can see where it says save as picture. Then go ahead and save. So I just saved it as slicer. So it has already been saved for me. Let's just go ahead and pick it up. So now we are back here. To get it now, you can see this particular icon right here. It means add an image to your report. So click on it and quickly click on this one. So we already have it. So as you can see, it's looking this way. If you try to actually make it some kind of huge now, this is what it is. So we want to actually put it at this particular part. So you can see this particular edge doesn't allow you to move it in. So all you have to do is to select this particular part right here. You can see where I actually selected that rounded part. So you just shift it until you have something like this. So you can come to the top here and make it as taller as you want. So it's a choice, depends on what you really want. Something like this would be cool for me. So what about this? Beautiful, right? Okay, if I am very much cool with this, now I can actually move this in. So if I try to move this in now, this is going behind. So what I'm gonna do now is to select this one and hold my Control key to have this one selected as well. Then we go to format and from format, we click on, let me just drop this down. Okay, we are now in format. From format, we click on bring to front. Here is it, bring to front. So now it's going to be at the front of this one here. So I can now hold it and move it right in here, right? So once we have it here, the next thing I'm going to do is just for me to actually format this. So go over here. So let's just click on the title and update the title. Filter by Patience race. Something like this would be very cool for me. All right. So once I have this now, I don't want to have background on it. So I have to quickly remove my background by actually going over to size and style. We come over to background. We have it removed. So with this particular background being removed, it's not looking much more pretty like the previous one we have on our map. So let's quickly scroll all the way down. So now we are on the button. So click on the button right here. And let's scroll down. At default, what we really want to have is going to be no border. So we've taken off the border. So let's see. On the fill color, we don't want something as bright as this. Let's go with a calm white color, like something like gray color like this. This is cool. All right. So once we have something like this, we want to go ahead and say, okay, when it is being hovered on, so now nothing happens. So if it is being hovered, I want to see white. Can you see it now? Can you see it more brighter? Then we want to scroll and change it to selected. So for the selected, we want to select color that rhymes with the color that we have on our dashboard. So let's go with this. So there is nothing selected now. If I actually make a selection, you can now see this color blends with this one. So if you want exact color like this, you have to click on this and go to columns. Then this will definitely give you the color. So copy the color hex code from here, then step off from it and actually click over this one. Then you come over here, you find the color here, you click. So now you now have the same color that rhymes with the color on your dashboard. So this is the selected one right now. Okay, on selected one, we want to actually, when we hover, we want to make it some kind of, have some kind of effect. So what we want to do now is to go all the way up. So let's close this one to minimize what we see. Okay, now we go to call out value. Under call out value, we are on the defaults. So we click on this hover. So we increase, or we can select this one. Let's go to this bolder font here. So we increase by 13. Once we hover, you can now see what we have. So this is the hover effect. Okay, for the selected one, so I want to change it to this favorite font of mine. I love it. So you can just see it now. If I select this right now, I'm going to have this font to be different than any other one. So this actually gives you this feel. All right, for this very one here, we are going to move it now. We have it right here. I'm going to keep it right here. So if I go ahead and turn off the background I have on this one, because this is the older version, this is how it is going to look. So if you like something like this, you can leave it this way. So I want to go to the title and I'm going to update the title. So for the slider header here, we want to update it. So just click over here, just say filter by year, quarter, and now we put and month. So here we go. So we can actually close this and it will give us something like this. You have to drop this down, and you can drop this particular first quarter down. You select any of the month in the first quarter to filter your data with. This is exactly what you have once you actually filter it. So this is exactly what we want to build. So once you're done, you can just go ahead and close this. In case you want to increase this font size, so what you need to do is just to actually go over to value right here. So from value, scroll all the way down and just increase the font size to make sure it looks more appealing to the eyes, right? So this is all we have to do. So next right now is for me to actually add a text right here. To add that text, I can just go ahead and copy this particular, header. Just copy it. I'm going to place it right here. So before then, let me just bring it in here and format what I have in here. More. The next thing I'm going to do is to hold my control key, select my slicer, select this very one as well. Now finally select the card itself. So once this is done, all you have to do now is to actually go over to this particular plus. So when we are in this plus, you can now see over here, we have selection, we have bookmark. So they're going to be turned off like this. So you must make sure you have them turned on just like this. So you can close it back. So now we go to our selection. So we are on our selection. So on our selection, we have selected everything we have right here. All I have to do is to actually hover my mouse over any of it and right click. Then you click on group and here we group. So I'm going to be having other slicers. I can just call this one slicer A. So that is it. So if you look at it now, if I actually turn this off, it's going to go off. If I bring it back, it's going to come back on. So all you have to do is to actually click on this particular eye icon under this slicer A. All right, we have gotten this. Let's go ahead and go to insert. From insert, we click on this particular button here. We're going to get a blank button, but we don't have to do this all over again because already previously we have a button, which is this very one here. So we can go ahead and use this. So all I have to do is just to go ahead and copy, then I have it pasted. I have another button right here. So on this button, I'm going to actually double click and rename it to close. So it has been renamed as close. So which means it's going to be different from this one because this one is what we have duplicated from. So over here, I'm going to go over to the format area. Then quickly, let's do format button. So button style, we scroll down, the text right now, we want to make sure we are on default when doing this. So we are on default. So we can now just say close filter. So with the close filter, we are good to go. So the next thing I'm going to do right now is just for me to actually go ahead and have its color changed. So I'll go over here. I'm going to select this particular color here for the close filter. So the color should not have any transparency. Okay. If you look at it right now, the text inside it is not looking pretty nice. So let's go over here and turn the text into white, just like this. So you can actually increase its visibility like this. I don't want something bold. Let's go with a different one, like this very one here. So it looks more appealing. So once we are done, let's stop off. So it's too huge. We can just go ahead and reduce it like this. Okay. So I'm going to position it somewhere around here. So if I hover over it, it's giving me this black fill. So I don't want that. I want to come over here and click on hover. Then I change the color that I have on hover. So we want to change the color to white. So let's go with this color. So now when we hover, this is what we see. All right. So the next thing we are going to do now is just to go ahead and Ctrl+C, Ctrl+V to just get it duplicated. Move this one over here. And now we just double click on this. Then what we're going to do now is to just say open. Right. So with this one named open, we want to go over to defaults right here. So using the default mode, we scroll all the way down, and over here, instead of close filter, we type in here open filter. This is what we want to do. Okay, everything is fine. The only thing we just want to do now is to actually have its color changed. We don't want to have red. So we go to still at default. Yeah, still at default. Let's scroll down. And this time around, you're going to this particular part to change it to this very color. So once this color is being changed, so we just want to go back and update the color for the font. So we're going to use something dark that can appear very well. Let's just look for na. Okay, something like this. Remember, we have hover. So we just want to go ahead and correct that. So on hover, we want the color to be changed. Okay, so once we have gotten this done, the next thing we're going to do right now is for me to place this above this one, like this, right? So I'm going to hold my Control key and select both of them, then right click and push them into a particular group like this. Now on this group, I'm going to call this one here button. Slicers BTN. All right, I'm going to tell you firsthand that what we want to create has been done for us. So it is time for we to give it some couple of actions. Let us now create a bookmark to hide and show up our slicers. The very first thing you're going to do is just to make sure you come over here. The slicers BTN is actually a group. So if you open it, you have content inside it. So the slicers A has content like the text box, the slicer, the filter by patient, wherever, and all that. And the image is inside it. So we don't need to open this one, just close it. Then open this one and reveal the content inside this one. Over here, I'm going to actually hide the open. So what is revealed to us right now is close filter, right? So you want to make sure you select both of the groups, slicer BTN and slicer A. make sure it's selected. If it is deactivated like this, so all you have to do is to hold your control key to select this group and as well select this group. Once they are selected, you come over here and add bookmark. So over here, you double click and here you're going to say open. So with the open now, you come over here and the very first thing you need to do is just to make sure you uncheck data and go over again and uncheck current page. Then lastly, you come over here, you just see selected visuals. Then you go over here and update it. So once done, that is all. So let us now hide it. To hide it now, we actually reveal, or let us first of all close this and reveal our open. So the open is here. We need to hide our slicer itself right now. So once this is done, you can see this is unchecked. Hold your control key to actually select the slicer A. So now click on add, then over here double click. This time around, we're going to call this one close. So with the close, come over to the three dots, click on it and go over to here and deactivate what? Deactivate the data or uncheck it. Do the same thing to current page. And lastly, there is just select the selected visuals. And over here, we're going to go ahead and try to update it. Okay. This shows it's working. Can you see it now? I'm clicking and they are responding. So the next thing I'm going to do is that I don't need any of this again. You can go ahead and have them hidden. Then click over to format. Then from format, this is grouped. So before you can actually activate it or select a particular one, double click on it. When you double click, if it works, it's going to show you all of this. Just double click and put it on edit mode. Then over here, it says action. Open up the action. Then you scroll a bit down. You come over here to page navigation. This time around, it's actually bookmark. So with the bookmark here, click on here and select what you want. So we want to select open. So if it is going to work, if we actually hold our control key right now and click on it, it would open this for us and this one will actually show up. So just double click on this very one right here to actually put it on edit mode. Then over here right now, we select bookmark as well again. And this time around, we're going to choose close. So we're going to choose close. So if close is working, if we go ahead and actually hold our control key to click on this one, it's going to have it hidden for us. So as you can see, we have actually built a full dynamic dashboard.